If you were a teenager in love with rock and roll back in 1969, there was a pretty good chance that one day you came home with a record in your hand, and on that record were two words: Led Zeppelin. When you put that record down on your turntable on side one, the first song you heard started like this. That song, of course, is Good Times, Bad Times. I grew up in the 80s, so when I heard that song, it was being played by a rock and roll station as part of their new classic rock programming. And I remember pretty vividly that this was my favorite Led Zeppelin song. I also remember struggling to figure out that intro. Years later, when my own students started requesting to learn it, I figured it out, and I actually understand why it was so befuddling to me back then. It's really because of this root fifth octave maneuver that Jimmy Page does. It simply wasn't like any of the riffs or licks that I had already learned, so I didn't have a frame of reference so that my ear could kind of put it together. Speaking of putting it all together, in the days of my youth, I was told what it means to be a man. Now I've reached that age, I try to do all those things the best I can.